Salve, Internet, and welcome to Parsing John. Today we are in Chapter 1, verses 24 and 25 of the Vulgate. This is the rubric that we're going to be using as we go through these passages. Keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and get started. Et qui misi fuerant, erant ex Pharisaeis, et interrogaverunt eum et dixerunt, ei quid ergo baptizas, si tu non es Christus, neque Elias, neque propheta? Question mark. Okay, there we go. Now this part's just weird. But that's because we don't have punctuation. If we had punctuation, it wouldn't be. Our very first word is a conjunction. So we write down and. Then we want to go and find our verb. Qui tells us that we are entering a relative clause, so let's go ahead and skip out of that. Well, after we find its verb, misi fuerant, there's the verb of the relative clause. So this is actually the verb of our main clause. So erant is going to be from sum esse fui futurus. It is the third person plural imperfect. It is active and indicative. Active if you consider verbs of being to complicated. They were. Okay, then we've got ex Pharisaeus. So ex is a preposition. It takes the ablative as its object, and we really only have one word left, so obviously has to be the ablative. So long mark there. It's to be ablative, plural, and masculine. This would be from, source or origin. Fair seas, comma or period. Okay, now we can go to our relative clause. Qui is either nominative singular masculine or nominative plural masculine. So we take a look at the verb inside of it. We see that it is plural, so qui has to be plural. Nominative, plural, and masculine. And who, misi, is from mitto, mittere, misi, misum. It could either be genitive or nominative. It's probably not genitive since there's nothing in here to own. So we're going to label that as nominative, plural, masculine, perfect, passive, and part for participle. Who sent, fuerant, that is. This is an a ending off of the standing fu of sum esse fui futurus, which tells us that this is pluperfect. It is third person. It is plural, pluf, active, and indicative. And it means had been. Now, in my reading outside of Jerome's translation here, I have not really seen things like this very often at all. The pluperfect tense of sum with a perfect passive participle is not normally a thing. I do not know if this happens outside of Jerome, period. If Jerome was doing it, then I presume that Augustine probably also did it. Maybe Thomas Aquinas. So that's something that I haven't looked into. But this is not a normal construction, or at least not something that I'm used to. If we had the present, imperfect, or future tenses of sum, then we would know that this is a indicative passive of the perfect rather than the participle. But as it is, we just have and who had been sent, which is kind of a weird way of doing things. So this is essentially just being relegated to a temporal verb rather than a temporal adjective rather than a participial adjective. Anyway, weird stuff going on there when you look at Latin outside of this. Okay. They were from Pharisees. Verse 25. And we want to find a verb, interrogaverunt. We've got erunt right there, our stem to the left. Erunt, as we've already seen from nothing that we've looked at today. But if we went all the way back up there, it would be the same thing. Third, plural, perfect, active, and indicative. Okay. They asked. And we want to ask a accusative. And I think we ask them of a genitive. That sounds right. That might be the Greek. Eum, from is id, which we've got right there, is accusative, singular, and can only be masculine. So there we have our object of the verb. This him is going to be the same person as singular person up here, that being John. And it's a weird D. Dixerunt, we've got the same ending there. So if we really want to, we can grab all of this, point it to this ending. They said. A is also from is id. We've seen that before up there. We know it is dative and singular to him. Now we are going to be entering direct discourse. We're going to put a quote mark there and a quote mark there, comma. Our very first word is quid. So this is a accusative or nominative singular neuter. Nominative we should actually write first. And I think I said neuter, just in case it's neuter. It can mean really only one thing. What? We don't know if it's the subject or if it's the object. The only way to figure that out is look at the verb. Ergo means therefore. That doesn't help very much. Baptizas, as there is going to be second person singular. Baptiz is our present stem, present, active, and indicative. So we know that this is not our subject, so accusative is the correct case for that one. What, therefore, do you, since it's a question, baptize? See if to non s. S here is our verb, is the second person singular, present, active, and indicative of sum esse fui futurus. Sorry, I just love saying futurus. It's so much fun. If not are, who are, to is nominative, singular, and, well, not really gender. You not. So far, so good. You not are. Christus, that us there tells us nominative, singular, masculine. This is going to be our predicate with a linking verb. Christ. Neque. Now when we have a non and a neque, when there's just two of them together, we can translate this as neither nor, but since we have three of them, let's just keep it to and not. And not. Elias and not. This is going to be Elijah. And since this is not a native Latin word, and since the Greeks themselves didn't, well, I shouldn't say the Greeks themselves, John, the Apostle John himself, when he didn't naturalize it into the Greek language, when he was writing the Gospel of John, Latin also did not naturalize it. So this is highly irregular. We just treat it as a nominative, singular, masculine, another predicate. And propheta, it looks feminine, but it is in fact masculine. Nominative, singular, masculine as well. Both predicates. Prophet. Period or comma. All right, there we go. That is all of our translation of verse 24 and 25. This time, I remember to grab verse 19 and the following. So let's go ahead and look at the context of the whole translation from the beginning. And this is witness of John. When Jews sent from Jerusalem priests and Levites to him, in order that they might ask him, "Who are you?" And he confessed, and not denied, and he confessed because, quote, "I am not Christ." And they asked him, "What therefore? Are you Elijah?" And he says, "I am not." "Are you prophet?" And he responded, "Not." Verse 22. They said therefore to him, "Who are you?" In order that we may give response to those sent us. Who sent us? Sorry. What do you say about yourself? He says, or said, "I am voice of crying in desert. Make straight or direct the way or the road of Lord," just as Isaiah the prophet, prophet, no articles, said. And who had been sent, they were from the Pharisees. That was hard to say. And they asked him, and they said to him, "What therefore do you baptize, if you are not Christ, and not Elijah, and not prophet?" Put a question mark there, rather than a period or comma. So that is the entire context from verse 19 through verse 25. Thank you for joining me as we go look through these. I believe we've only got 3 verses left before we're done with this entire section and can compare it to the Greek. I hope you have enjoyed and watching these 2 verses, and have a good day.